Japanese swords, appearing throughout Japan's history, are known globally not just as mere weapons, but as symbols of the samurai spirit. However, among them, there are some swords that have left a cruel history. In this episode, we will introduce the top 5 most infamous katana, known for their terrifying history. Number 5. Izuminokami Kanesada. Izuminokami Kanesada is known as the beloved sword of Hijikata Toshizo, the vice commander of the Shinsengumi, who made his mark in the 19th century. This sword was crafted in 1867 by the 11th generation of the swordsmith Kanesada, who had been active since the 14th century, with the swordsmith's name becoming the name of the sword itself. Toshizo was a samurai active in the 19th century, known as the vice commander of the Shinsengumi, a police organization in Kyoto. At that time in Japan, there was a growing force advocating for the Son no Joi, revere the emperor, expel the barbarians' ideology, which posed a threat to the Edo shogunate that held power. The Shinsengumi was formed to protect Kyoto from these imperial loyalists, consisting of a group of skilled swordsmen. Known as the Demon Vice Commander, feared not only by enemies, but also by allies, he was a very strict and ruthless individual. Originally, as the Shinsengumi was a group of swordsmen, it included many hot-headed individuals and lacked unity. To bring the organization together, he established strict rules. Those who broke these rules were mercilessly killed or ordered to commit seppuku. It is said that the number of people he killed within the Shinsengumi for breaking the rules outnumbered the enemies he killed. Respecting the then leader of the Shinsengumi, he took on the role of the hated enforcer so the leader wouldn't have to punish the members himself. This sword was entrusted to Toshizo by the military commanders of Kyoto at the time, who were responsible for maintaining the city's security. From then on, for about 2 years until his death in battle, he favored this sword and used it in numerous actual combats. After his death, when the sword was returned to his family home, its blade bore multiple nicks as if to tell the tales of the fierce battles it had seen. Due to polishing in the 20th century, these nicks are no longer visible, but the blade has become slightly thinner as a result. Currently, this sword is preserved at the Hijikata Toshizo Museum in Tokyo. Incidentally, from the wear on the grip of the sword, it is speculated that his way of holding the sword was unique, with both hands close together near the guard, exerting force with the index finger and thumb. This unique grip suggests that he indeed performed the morotezuki, a thrust at the opponent's throat, which he was known to be skilled at. Number 4. Nanatsudou Otoshi. Nanatsudou Otoshi is a sword known for its terrifying sharpness, said to have simultaneously cut through 7 torsos. This sword was crafted by Kanefusa, a swordsmith who led a famous forging lineage. His creations are renowned for their superior cutting ability and distinctive blade patterns. The name of this sword derives from a test cut in which it was said to have sliced through 7 torsos at once. In Japan, there has long been a practice known as tameshigiri, testing the sharpness of swords. This involved stacking the bodies of deceased criminals and testing how many could be bisected with a single sword strike. While this was a method to verify a sword's sharpness, it often attracted many spectators, turning it into a spectacle of sorts. The use of human bodies for test cutting is rare globally and has been criticized as ethically problematic. The test cut for this sword took place in 1681. Due to its creation by a master craftsman, the individual selected for the test cutting was someone highly skilled in swordsmanship. The tester climbed a ladder and struck down as if jumping onto the 7 stacked corpses. As a result, all the bodies were bisected. From this event, the sword was named Nanatsudou Otoshi. Whether this anecdote is true remains unverifiable today, but the feat of cutting through 7 torsos has remained the highest record for test cutting. This sword is well known as a symbol of the cruel traditions of that era in Japan, alongside its sharpness. Currently, this sword is designated as an important Japanese sword and is owned by Wakeido, a prestigious sword specialty store. Additionally, the handle of this sword is engraved with Nanatsudou Otoshi, a practice common at the time where the records made during test cutting were engraved on the sword's handle, serving as proof of its sharp cutting ability. Number 3. Yamanba Giri Kunihiro. Yamanba Giri Kunihiro is a famous sword known for having cut down a mountain witch, referred to as a Yamanba in Japanese folklore. This sword was crafted in the 16th century by the renowned swordsmith Horikawa Kunihiro, who was highly sought after by many warlords and daimyo of his time. Interestingly, this sword is a copy of another famous sword, yet it is considered his masterpiece. The sword's owner was a warlord who served the Hojo clan, but was defeated in the siege of Odawara, leading to the confiscation of his territory. Subsequently, the sword came into the possession of a retainer of the Hojo family, Ishihara. The name of this sword derives from a legend that he cut down a Yamanba, a mountain witch from ancient Japanese folklore. One day, while walking in the mountains with his pregnant wife, she suddenly went into labor. By chance, they found a house inhabited by an old woman. After entrusting his wife to the old woman, he went out to look for medicine. Upon his return, he discovered the old woman eating the newborn. In a fit of rage, he cut down the old woman with his sword. This event has been told as a legend, resulting in the sword's name being Yamanba Giri, or Mountain Witch Cutter. This sword, which became legendary from this anecdote, leaves us questioning whether it truly cut down a supernatural being. In fact, in Japan at the time, there were customs of women going into the mountains to give birth, and of elderly women being abandoned in the mountains due to food shortages. It is said that the mythical Yamanba was modeled on women who retreated to the mountains for these reasons. Therefore, it is possible that the Yamanba he claimed to have cut was actually an ordinary woman, and he spread the story that it was a monster to boast of his bravery. This sword still exists today, and in 2023, Ashikaga City in Tochigi Prefecture announced its purchase from the original owner for 300 million yen. The fact that it was made by a master craftsman and the impact of the legend of cutting down a Yamanba are thought to bring significant economic benefits. Another famous sword crafted by Horikawa Kunihiro is Hote Kunihiro. This sword is distinctive for having an engraving of Hote, a god, on the blade. Interestingly, there is a meaning behind this engraving. It is said that he engraved the image of Hote as a representation of himself praying for the repose of the souls he had slain. Each sword he crafted is known as a masterpiece and has cut through numerous individuals. Thus, it is believed he created this sword to console the souls of the deceased. Number 2. Hizen Tadahiro. Hizen Tadahiro is a sword known as the beloved weapon of the feared assassin, Okada Izuo, during the late Edo period of the 19th century. This sword was crafted around the 17th century by the legendary swordsmith Tadahiro. Izuo was born in 1838 as the eldest son in a family of low-ranking samurai. Due to his status, the salary from his lord was insufficient to live on, leading him to a difficult childhood. Eventually, he became a student of Takechi Zuizan, who would later emerge as a leader of the Sonno Joi, revere the emperor, expel the barbarians movement. It was then that Izuo's life as an assassin began. In 1861, Zuizan formed the Tosa Kino Party, a group advocating for the Sonno Joi ideology. Izuo, eager to prove useful to his master despite his lack of formal education, joined the group. However, he possessed an exceptional talent for swordsmanship. Zuizan recognized this talent and entrusted him with the assassination of important figures. Subsequently, Izuo justified his assassinations as acts of tenchu, heavenly punishment, and carried out numerous missions using his beloved sword, Hizen Tadahiro. He became known as one of the era's 4 great assassins, feared as Izuo the Killer. He continued to undertake any mission to gain his master's favor. However, since his motivation for assassination was solely to be acknowledged by his master, he gradually became akin to a killing puppet. His methods were brutal. One of his victims was tied to a bridge and left to die in public display. Although they once flourished, their momentum was dramatically halted in 1863 as opposing forces gained strength, leading to the capture of many of their members, including Izuo and his mentor Takechi. A tragedy ensued when Takechi, fearing that Izuo might confess everything if left to his own devices, attempted to poison him. The attempt was unsuccessful, but upon learning of this betrayal, Izuo, who had until then endured torture without confession, finally confessed everything. He had killed many people for the sake of his revered master, but in the end, he was betrayed by one of the few people he had opened his heart to. Following this, he was beheaded, and his head was displayed publicly. At that time, he left behind a death poem. For you, my devoted heart was like bubbles in water. After they vanished, the sky became clear and tranquil. Despite being considered of shallow learning, Izuo's final words betray a certain nobility. It is said that the existing sword might not actually have been his beloved Hizen Tadahiro. This is because the Hizen Tadahiro he frequently used was reportedly damaged during an assassination, and its whereabouts have since been unknown. Even if the sword found today is not his original, there remains a possibility that his true beloved sword might still be discovered somewhere. Number 1. Kasen Kanesada. Kasen Kanesada is a sword known for its owner having cut down 36 of his own vassals. This sword was crafted in the 17th century by the second generation of the swordsmith Izuminokami Kanesada. The sword was favored by Hosokawa Tadaoki, a powerful daimyo of the Sengoku period. His family was known as a distinguished and historical lineage, serving the highest authorities in Japan for generations. Tadaoki was celebrated for his exceptional bravery and numerous military achievements. However, he was also known for his violent temper, described in some documents as a lord with the shortest temper under heaven. In 1582, after the death of his lord, he swore allegiance to the next ruler, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and served him until Hideyoshi's death. Then, in 1600, the largest battle in Japan, the Battle of Sekigahara, erupted. Tadaoki played a significant role in this battle, driven by his past grudges. His grudge was against a colleague and rival from his time serving under Hideyoshi, the warlord Ishida Mitsunari. Driven by this deep resentment, he decided to join the Eastern Army, opposing Mitsunari's Western Army. His grudge was so profound that he is said to have taken 136 enemy heads during this battle. His valor in the battle earned him a vast amount of land, elevating him to a position of great power. The fearsome reputation of him is also reflected in the anecdote related to the name Kasen Kanesada. Even after passing the leadership to his son, he strictly monitored the performance of his son's vassals, leading to the execution of a total of 36 vassals. This sword, used during those executions, was named after the Sanjuroku Kasen, 36 immortal poets of the Heian period, thus acquiring the name Kasen Kanesada. Subsequently, this sword has been passed down as a treasured heirloom of the Hosokawa family and is currently preserved in a museum established by the Hosokawa family. The sword's mount, known as Kasen Koshirae, dates back to the 17th century. This unique design was devised by Tadaoki himself, and later became the foundation for the famous Higo Koshirae. The swords crafted by the swordsmith of this blade are focused on practicality and functionality, often said to lack artistic appeal. However, his choice of such a simple blade and his infusion of unique aesthetic sensibilities into the mount are recognized as a testament to his distinctive taste. We hope you enjoyed this exploration into the world of Japanese swords. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting content about the history of Japanese swords. Until next time, sayonara.